Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is Pamela, and you are watching Pam Entertainment TV, where we review movies, television series, and do celebrity legal news. Also, join me for my pop culture chats. If you'd like to support the channel, please like, comment, and subscribe. My Venmo and Cash App is below. Thank you so much, and let's get started. All right. Listen, we're going to be talking about some topics today about the mass unaliving in Michigan and in North Carolina. As you all come in, make sure that you all hit that like button for me. I really would appreciate it. As you enter, make sure you hit that like button. Yeah, we've got a lot to talk about today. As you enter, please hit that like button. Got a couple of things to put up here. My copyright and my views expressed. Also, here is my trigger warning. It's not necessarily for these two subjects. However, we will be talking about mass unaliving. And so, if that is something that bothers you, then please, this is your time to turn away from this video. All right. So, I'm going to share my screen. So, over the past 72 hours, there have been two mass unalivings this weekend. I think through the whole week, there has been four. But let's get to the one that happened in Michigan first, and then we'll go over the one that had happened in North Carolina. I'm going to go over the latest information provided to us by CNN, and we're going to watch a recorded update by the police in Michigan regarding the current updates about what happened. Okay. So, as of today, everyone who was in the Church of Latter Day Saints in Michigan, I can't pronounce it. Is it El Blanc or Blonde? I can't pronounce the name of the town, but when I see it, I'll definitely be able to pronounce it. Um, So after everyone has been accounted for, the attack on that church has left four deceased, officials say. They said so all the missing have been accounted for. Police said on a Monday, a day after the gunman rammed a truck into the Church of Latter-day Saints chapel in Michigan and then began firing on the parishioners, also then setting a fire that destroyed the building. You had four people who were pruned from the timeline and eight others that were injured during the attack at a Sunday morning service. The gunman they said the police responded within, I think, 5 to 10 minutes, and the gunman was taken down by officers. He has been identified as Thomas Jacob Sanford. He was also a Marine, and he was in the Iraq War back in the 90s. Here is a picture of Thomas Jacob Sanford. Sorry about that. I wanted to see if they had any more pictures. Now, who do they say he is? Thomas Jacob Sanford was known around his small Michigan suburb for his distinctive pickup truck, which he often drove with two American flags flying from the bed behind him. Hello there. In recent weeks, locals said Sanford began behaving oddly, asking a local political candidate questions about his position on guns and Mormons, and then nearly running over a longtime friend with the truck in a seemingly joke. That wasn't joking. Then on Sunday, because the reason why I'm reading this is because I really do want to for us to get into our heads that these mass unalivings, if we sit here and want to think that someone's okay, this is what I'm going to say. I understand that this administration has a particular agenda, but what boggles my mind is the fact that these mass unalivings are happening from white heterosexual men upon white folk. And what boggles my mind is when these things happen, everybody wants to control the narrative and say, oh, that's why we need to send troops to Chicago. Oh, this is why we need to send troops to Washington, because this quote unquote black on black crime is getting out of hand. But no one is dealing with the fact that this white on white crime causes chaos and confusion. And because white people do not want to deal with the unstable, devilish acting folks in their community, they rather shift the blame. So I want to read who this person is so that we can understand. Because the first thing that we want to say is, you see, all of these black folks are violent. And, you went to North Carolina talking about what happened on the train, and don't mishear me. That was heinous. He will be punished. You all will make sure that he will be punished. No one is ducking and dodging any of that about being punished. But I just want to continue to read, and then I'll come back and say why I wanted to read this. Here, in recent weeks, locals say Sanford began behaving oddly, asking local political candidates questions about his positions on guns and Mormons, and then nearly running over with a friend with the truck in a seemingly joke. How is this joking? This is not joking. This is initially behaviors that should have been paid attention to. Then on Sunday morning, as neighbors took in the first report of a mass pew-pewing at a nearby LDS church, they saw the photo. Sanford's GMC Sierra truck rammed into the front of a burning building. Police said Sanford, 40, he's a 40-year-old man, crashed his truck in the front of the Church of Jesus and Latter-day Saints. Now, if you're unfamiliar, Jesus and Latter-day Saints are Mormons. In Grand Blanc, before shooting at congregants with an assault rifle and setting the building on fire. At least 4 people were pruned from the timeline, and he's injured 8. And he died in an exchange of gunfire with the police. Says his friends and acquaintances are now trying to piece together how he went from a Marine veteran raising a child with a rare genetic disorder to the suspects in the country's latest deadly rampage. This is the paragraph I wanted you all to go back over. Sanford's friends and acquaintances are now trying to piece together how he went from a Marine veteran raising a child with a rare genetic disorder. So let's talk about what's going on. Y'all remember that big, beautiful bill that's passed? And all the cuts that are coming from that big, beautiful bill. Now, if we go back up to this other paragraph, they're oh, he was asking the candidates about their position on guns and on Mormons. Was he really? Because this is significant, in my opinion. You have a child with a rare genetic disorder, and 9 times out of 10, his family was usually using the Affordable Health Care Act, possibly Medicaid, particularly with the rare genetic disorder. Are we wanting to understand that people they casted their vote for a candidate who has now disillusioned them? All the things that they relied on are being taken away. Could that be a motive? They're saying local authorities in the next paragraph have not identified a motive in the attack. But White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt told Fox News Monday that the Sanford was an individual who hated people of the Mormon faith. Now, I'm not telling you that that is not a motive, but I don't want us to not look at the fact that he was dealing with a child with a rare genetic disorder. And people are finding out that the subsidies that they had for the Affordable Care Act is about to expire in January, because that's when the big, beautiful bill is going to come into effect. A lot of people are going to be taking off the Medicaid rolls. That's when all of this comes into effect. And coupled with, as the press secretary said, was an individual who had a disdain for the people of the Mormon faith. But if you just sit there and we just talk about that, we may miss some other things. We may miss, or they're not wanting to speak on the policies that they are putting forth that are causing these issues. One moment, y'all. Sorry about that, y'all. When my mama called, I got to listen. Blue says he can't be 40 and fought in the Iraq War in the 90s. I fought in the Iraq War after 9/11, and I'm in my 30s. Maybe that's what they mean. I think a lot of times they want to try to ramp up this quote unquote patriotism, believing that when you serve in the military, it's a level of patriotism. All right, hold on. Chris Johns, a city council candidate in Sanford's town of Burton, Michigan, told CNN that he had met Sanford on the Campbell Trail about a week before the attack. During a short conversation, he said Sanford asked him, "What are your thoughts on guns and what are your thoughts on Mormons?" Cara Patterson, a longtime friend of Sanford's who spoke to CNN affiliate, remembered him as a fun-loving guy. And I've always told you when these things happen like this, and particularly when the suspect is who they always try to humanize them. But if they are people of color or black folk, words like villain, thug, demon, yada yada yada. He was a fun loving family guy, but also said he harbored unkind feelings towards certain groups. He was prejudiced and definitely talked about groups of people in ways that were not acceptable. How do you mourn the death of someone who did something so terrible? So, what we'll do now, we just kind of talked about that. Let's go over and let the officials who have done the news update. We're going to let them talk and do this news update, and then I'll come back with some more of my commentary.
Sheriff Chris Swanson, Genesee County Sheriff, and Chief William Rennie, Grand Blanc Township Police Department. Thank you. I'm here as governor to bring the full support of the entire state of Michigan to this community. I want to thank all of our local law enforcement, state police, federal agents for their swift response. I want to thank local fire and EMS and medical providers for saving lives and caring for those who are still fighting for their lives in the hospital. And thank the incredible Department of Natural Resources Conservation Officer and the local Grand Blanc officer for their brave actions to take down the shooter and their quick response. I think we can see the best of public service in all of these individuals. As I said, I'm here as the governor, but I'm also here as a fellow Michigander whose heart is breaking by another mass shooting in a place that is supposed to be defined by togetherness and a close-knit community here in Grand Blanc. As a state, we know the pain of this too well. We've seen gun violence in our schools, stores, parades, festivals, and our houses of worship. These are places that we go to feel connected, to feel safe, to be together. But today, this place has been shattered by bullets and broken glass. And this might be a familiar pain, but it hurts all the same. Every time. We cannot keep living our lives like this. I know that this community is reeling right now, and I want you to know that the state of Michigan has your back. Your grief is our grief. I ordered flags lowered statewide, and I spoke with President Trump yesterday, who wanted to share his condolences. We will be here every step of the way and coordinate a full response with our local and federal partners. Folks here at the township, at every level, they're working closely together. There's one thing I know about Michiganders.
Sorry about that. You all didn't hear me, but pretty much that we get the same thing: thoughts and prayers, thoughts and prayers, thoughts and prayers, thoughts and prayers.
That we get through hard things together, and that's who we are. That's how the good people here at the Grand Blanc Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints live their lives. They worship together, they sing together, and they serve together. And that's why I was so proud to see powerful statements from interfaith leaders across Michigan denouncing this attack on a house of worship. They grieved for this congregation as though it was their own. They spoke with one voice for the basic principle that we all believe in, that you should be able to pray in peace in our state, no matter who you are. I know that in the hours and days ahead, we will see the best of Michigan. We will see neighbors being neighborly, checking in with a call, bringing over some food, or offering a hug. We'll see medical providers work hard to save lives and treat those in need, with scars both seen and unseen. We will see this congregation unite and rally together like never before and continue worshiping together, singing together, and serving together, because that's who Michiganders are. We will stay in close contact and continue to work together. Now, like everyone I know, we have lots of questions. How could this happen? What created this moment? Why? And that's motivated by a genuine motivation to understand, to learn, to prevent in the future. But I want to caution everyone, while we are working hard, while the good men and women who are working hard are doing so with due diligence, at this juncture, speculation is unhelpful and it can be downright dangerous. So just ask that people lower the temperature of rhetoric. Keep your loved ones close and keep this community close to your hearts. Let's keep doing the work together. Let's be kind and let's love our neighbors. Thank you. And now I'd like to introduce the head of the Michigan State Police, Colonel James Grady.
Thank you, Governor, and good afternoon. And this community has been greatly impacted by yesterday's events. We are offering our deepest condolences to those affected by this tragedy. This horrific event is something that this community has never experienced. It is important at this time that we come together to support one another in this time of grief. We stand ready and willing to assist both our local and federal partners with any additional needs as this investigation continues. The Michigan State Police immediately responded alongside our public safety partners to secure the scene, provide support to our neighbors, with our emergency support team serving search warrants, the bomb squad and K-9 team sweeping numerous locations for evidence and explosives.
I wonder what he did while he was in the military. Was he an explosive expert or anything like that? This is interesting. And again, if you're just joining us, we're just going over the news conference held by the folks from Grand Blanc, Michigan, in regards to the mass shooting that happened over the weekend. And so we're just kind of going over this information and trying to, give some commentary behind it, because this thing is, I get upset when these things happen and people don't, and the powers that be do not want to talk about this, quote, white on white crime and how it affects the masses. What they like to do is shift blame in the narrative and say, oh, well, see, it's the people over in Chicago, it's the people over in Washington, D.C., it's those wayward gangster thug black folks that are doing all of these crimes. And it's always interesting to see how they're reeling right now. Now everybody wants you to have the compassion, the empathy, and our community should be healing. But yet you have a president that's sending tanks and the military to cities to police these cities. And I don't have the things, but it just seems like there was something in the Constitution that says that the military cannot be as sick on their own people, on United States citizens. And I'm understanding that they're talking about sending the military up into Portland. Good luck. Good luck. Because they don't seem to be able, in my opinion, to spark this modern day civil war by antagonizing the Black folks and the other people of color, but it definitely seems that they are trying to spark it by any means necessary, which is unfortunate. But meanwhile, and in between time, they're messaging on crime and crime again, with the immigrant population, with the people of color, with Black folks. That seemingly war is not working for them. They can't seem to get that they can't seem to get that started. Meanwhile, their folks are running amok because this is the 324th mass unaliving this year. And I wonder how many of those 324 mass unalivings, mass pew-pewings, have cost the lives of folks. And whose lives did it cost? Whose lives? Let's let him continue because we've got to get to the one in North Carolina. And I don't want to keep you all longer than what we have to be.
Additionally, our forensic science laboratories and our special investigation section continue to investigate the officer-involved shooting and work alongside our federal and local partners. I'd like to take a moment for everybody to remember that last year we put together an initiative called Stop the Plot. While we are committed to keeping our community safe, we also need your help. Again, it takes everybody. 53% of mass attacks leave a trail of clues leading up to them. And 2/3 of mass attackers elicited behavior that caused concerns. So we are asking our communities to stay vigilant. And if you see something,
you hear what he just said? If you see something, say something. And remember, I told you they made mention of the fact that he had gotten in front of a politician's face, a political candidate, and started asking questions about his positions on guns. And then you heard people talk about how he tried to run over someone who was quote unquote a friend. He was openly prejudiced and bigoted because they tried to paint him as I quote here. Let me share my screen what I'm looking at. He was a fun-loving family guy, but he also harbored unkind feelings towards certain groups and definitely talked about groups of people in ways that were not acceptable. I need for you all to stop using all this word salad and say what you mean and mean what you say and stand firm in the words that you choose. He was prejudiced and he was a bigot. And apparently, if he was trying to run over somebody who was supposed to be, quote, a friend of his, he was a mean SOB. But he was fun loving. Okay. And this type of stuff, whether you all want to admit it or not, you've got to go back and also look at the home. How was he treating the people in the home that he was living in? How was he immediately treating the people he was neighbors with? Does this man have any criminal record? And you remember I told you all in the last live that a lot of times with these small towns, if they have a criminal record, they could be arrested for assault, and then it gets dropped down to something like vandalism. Because some to where in the assault, some property was destroyed. So they'll drop those other charges because, he's a good, fun-loving guy. But he harbored unkind feelings towards certain groups and definitely talked about groups of people in ways that were not acceptable. And this is what Cara Patterson says. Let's continue.
If suspicious, please contact local law enforcement or 911 immediately. We will keep the family in our prayers here at MSP as they continue to cover and we work together. Thank you for your time. Next up, we will have from the AT. Thank you. We will have ATS Special Agent in Charge for Michigan, James Deere.
Good afternoon. My name is Jim Deere with ATF. I'm the Special Agent in Charge for ATF Michigan. On behalf of the men and women of ATF, I offer my deepest sympathy. And it's become all too common. And as we know, we have become more and more desensitized.
Yes, we have. I'm going to kind of speed through some of this stuff. But yes, I think as a society, you all are very much desensitized when it is white on white crime. When it's very desensitized. I think all of this has because again, we are at 324. This is the 324 mass shooting this year. Now, people are talking about, well, it's the guns. Well, it's the guns. If they didn't have the guns, they wouldn't do that. With this 324th mass unaliving, if it was just the guns, I would assume that there would be more. So I would just posture to you, not only is it the guns, but you have the guns in hands of people that no one wants to turn in, talk about, because, he's a fun-loving guy, but he just harbored ill feelings for people that were different from him. Same guy tried to run over somebody. And I'm wondering, clearly I am wondering, what else criminal record does he have? Who's going to be able to speak on that? Let's continue.
Community is hurting and we are here to help them heal. As part of that healing process, ATF has brought in their national response team. This is a cadre of world-renowned investigators for arson and explosive incidents. They have been used all over the world, and they come from places as far as California, Hawaii, and they're here in Michigan now. They arrived last night. They've briefed. They're examining the scene, and that is what they're doing at this point. From ATF's perspective, I would encourage the community not to travel by the church. Those roads have been blocked off and access is controlled. While that might be a little disheveling for folks, we need that scene security for our investigators as they dig out this scene. So with that in mind, that's our ask for the community. We are also looking at improvised explosive devices that were recovered during this investigation and looking towards that end as well. I need to introduce the acting special agent in charge for the FBI of Detroit, Michigan, Reuben Coleman.
My name is Reuben Coleman. I'm acting special agent in charge of FBI Detroit Field Office, which represents the entire state. At this time, we wanted to provide an update on our investigative efforts regarding yesterday's tragic shooting at the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Grand Blanc, Michigan. First, I want to express my gratitude for all the cross-agency collaboration between our federal, state, and local partners. Their support has been outstanding and critical to this investigation. We are in lockstep with our partners as we continue to work through this. As I mentioned yesterday, the FBI is investigating this as an act of targeted violence, and we are continuing to work to determine a motive. In the past 24 hours, our investigative squads and specialty teams have been out all night, exhausting leads, some of which have been coming in from the public via tips. Our special agents, victim specialists, child advocate forensic interviewers, and local partners have interviewed over 100 victims and witnesses to date and are continuing to interview individuals as we speak. Our evidence response team, or ERT, which is a specialized team of special agents, intelligence analysts, and professional staff, are trained to process crime scenes and collect evidence.
So even though that they have unalived the person who they have identified that's shooting, they're still, which to their credit, they're doing a thorough investigation of making sure that they talk to all the people that were there. What did they see? When did they see? How did they see it? What went on? Did they know the victim? Did they know the unaliver? Had he said anything to them? All of these different things to figure out what's going on.
They were out all night and continue processing the scene as we speak. Our field office has stood up national equities for support. We are engaging with our behavioral analyst unit, or BAU, and have received support from our Quantico Labs division to analyze evidence collected.
And I sped this up a little bit, just a little bit. He's going to be talking a little bit faster so that we can kind of get through this.
To date, we received assistance from our FBI field offices across the country to support this case and file down leads. While our focus is on this investigation, we want to continue to keep the victims and their families in our thoughts as they navigate through this incredibly difficult time. Please continue to reach out to the FBI via 1-800-CALL-FBI or submit tips at tips.fbi.gov. Thank you. Chief.
You prepare in peace to perform in chaos. I saw it live. I saw what you trained for, what you planned for, and then reality hit yesterday morning on a bright sunny day when people went to worship.
Why does his hair look like Chet on Weird Science? Really, Chief? The spiky hair. Child, he has not let that early 90s hairstyle go. Early 2000s hairstyle go.
But what I also saw is every level of government law enforcement work together for the good of the people. What I witnessed was people putting their lives at risk that had 2 months on the job as an EMT, or brand new firefighters, veteran firefighters, and law enforcement, just to bring a sense of stability to a scene that was chaotic and dynamic. As the sheriff of this county, I see the great people every day, but I want this community to know that those ranks in those agencies that were mentioned before me, we worked together, we worked in concert, and we did the job. And there's more to do. I will tell you, the sheriff's office dedicated every county sheriff medic that we had available, patrol, investigators, we did interviews, emergency management, whatever the task was needed. The sheriff's office worked with everybody that you heard and many that you don't know to bring justice and also order to the scene. But I will tell you, the days are continuing. We have 31 marked cars on as we speak, making sure schools that are in session and churches that are planning Bible studies, regardless of faith-based, that they will be protected. Anybody who calls in, we will be there like other law enforcement to settle the community and bring a sense of calmness to people. There is an uncertainty. The law enforcement, especially the sheriff's office, will bring that to you. I will tell you that there are noble heroes who do not wear a uniform that went to that church yesterday. You're going to hear their stories as we lay out this case with law enforcement, but I will tell you this, those heroes from that church did their job. And it was led because of a police department. So law enforcement from this township is led by a chief who demonstrated leadership right out of the gate. And my honor is to announce him as the final speaker, Chief Rennie of Grand Blanc Township.
Thank you, Sheriff. Evil. This was an evil act of violence. That's exactly what this was. And this is not Grand Blanc. This does not define Grand Blanc and who we are. We are a community, and I am confident that together we're going to build a stronger community due to this incident. Now, an update. This left 5 people dead, 8 people injured. As I said, this is an evil act and does not define Grand Blanc or who we are. At this time, what we know is everyone has been accounted for. We still are in the process of clearing out that church. but at this time, everyone is accounted for. We ask that you stay away from the scene. Let us work to clear this call so then we could get back to normal. That's what we all want. Grand Blanc Township police officers, the community of Grand Blanc Township, we're hurting. And we know that you are hurting as well with us. I want to remind you that we had the Family Assistance Center open. They will be open Monday and Tuesday at the Genesis Athletic Club from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. That address is 801 Health Park Boulevard, Grand Blanc, Michigan 48439. Seek service, let's come back together and be stronger together and better. I'll open it up at this time for any questions. Sir.
I have a question. When it comes to the act of violence, can you define why it's considered an act of violence and not something more serious like terrorism?
I will let Agent Coleman speak to that particular question.
Yes, as of right now, we are calling it an act of violence as this is an investigation that is continuing. We are continuing to receive leads. We're continuing to run down all information. And once we're able to ascertain definitively what we have, that's when we'll make those statements. But as of right now, this is an act of violence. Thank you.
Follow up on that, please. You called this an act of targeted violence. Can you tell us who you believe the target was? A specific person, the LDS Church, another group?
Well, as of right now, again, as this is an ongoing investigation, what I would say is when I say targeted violence, I mean targeted within our state and within our community. Right now, what we are here for are the families and the victims, and we're going to work diligently in order to make sure we can bring closure for them as well.
Can we speak about the motive? There was some chatter that the suspect's ex-girlfriend was a Mormon or something of that nature. Chatter online about that. Is that something that you can't speak to, any possible motive?
That is something I cannot speak to at this point in time.
I heard that someone was arrested after driving through the barricades near the church. Can you share any information on that? Why they were arrested? Maybe what their intentions were?
Yes, Chief.
Yes, I could speak on that. Yes, there was an incident out there. We are still in the process of investigating that incident, whether or not it's related or not. I could tell you that we do have a 21-year-old person in custody for that incident right now.
Does the suspect have any prior criminal?
Oh, there's another incident?
Are you talking about the suspect from yesterday or today?
The suspect.
The suspect from yesterday has been arrested by law enforcement in the past.
And the 5 dead, does that include the suspect or is that?
The 5 dead includes the suspects.
Can you give any details on what those prior arrests were?
Burglary and OWI. That I can't give you.
Burglary and OWI. Hold on, y'all. Drunk driving. That's what it is. DUI, OWI. So he has a history of burglary, because I had to figure out what if he had any crimes going on. He has a history of burglary and a history of driving while intoxicated, operating a vehicle or machinery while intoxicated.
Yeah, 100%.
What do we know?
There.
No, so I just want to clarify, no more did you search the church and
We have not completed search in the church, but as we know, everyone has been accounted for. That's going to be all the questions that we answered today. If you this is our last press conference. If there's other pertinent information that develops, we will let you guys all know and post that on our social media account.
All right. So we've gotten through this particular thing. And what I want to say is this. What I'd like to say is this. There has to be a reckoning going on. As Americans, we should be dealing with all situations and all crimes and all different things. However, we do see, if you're someone that looks like me, that there's a level of bias in all of these things and how these things are handled. They are humanizing this person for doing this heinous thing. And again, it is heinous. But when we politicize it, it becomes, oh, well, he was on the right and he was on the left. He was on these things. We need to stop that and sit down and humanize it and not humanize it. Let me get my thoughts together. People in the majority, and I mean the population and population wise, you all need to get together with each other and make this type of stuff something that you will not tolerate. It's almost like you tolerated you tolerate it within yourselves, but you can't tolerate it within other people. And I'm just saying this, the wordings that are used and all of this other stuff, had he been someone that looks like the man sitting over the shoulder, the left shoulder of the person that is speaking, watch the adjectives you use when you describe those people. But again, people in his community knew that he was prejudiced and he was a bigot and he had issues. He had burglary charges. He had operated a vehicle while intoxicated. It has been reported that he has tried to hit people with his vehicle that were quote unquote his friends. So all of these things have come around. All of these things are known. I am interested into hearing what his wife has to say. Hadn't interviewed her, hadn't said anything to her. But I'm interested. Let's move on. Let's move on. So let's get into what happened in North Carolina this weekend. So we have a mass pew-pewing that left 3 dead and 5 hurt in North Carolina was, quote, highly premeditated, officials say. Now we are reading from WBTV3, and this article was written by Luke Tucker. It says a weekend mass pew-pewing that left 3 dead and at least 5 others hurt was, quote, highly premeditated and targeted in a North Carolina bar, according to officials. The pew-pewing happened around 9:30 p.m. on Saturday, September 27th, at American Fish Company in Southport. And it's my understanding this was a restaurant off the coast, off the water. Officials say that the suspect, 40-year-old Nigel Max Edge, was in a white center console boat on the water when he opened fire on the restaurant with a white rifle. American Fish Company reportedly had live music going on at the time when shots rang out and has a deck that faces the water. What do we call this? Because I know a lot of states have laws on their books about shooting from a moving vehicle. What are the laws do they have about shooting from a boat? Is that considered a moving vehicle as well? It was not clear exactly how long Edge waited on the water before he started shooting. However, when asked, officials said at least twice during Sunday's news conference that the pew-pewing was premeditated. District Attorney John David said a lot of the victims were on vacation and were not Southport locals. So this must be a tourist spot. People were coming to, get their live music, dancing and swinging and having a good time. And ended in bloodshed. Now, one of the things I want to say about that is that these 2 incidents, and if you look at my title, it said bloodshed in safe spaces. What's happening now within this political climate, within all of this stuff is going on, is that places that people deem safe are not safe. And even when you go back to the pew pewing of CK, this country has always touted that any space that is occupied by the predominantly white citizenship is a safe place. Now, all those things have been coming into question in the past 6 months. And don't mishear me. These things have happened forever. But remember, some of these things was happening to people that look like me, because you remember was it North Carolina or South Carolina, when that young man went into that church and pew-pewed the people in the congregation, and they invited him to come and sit down and worship with them. But he was plotting, and he did plot. And even after he had extinguished the lives of those parishioners in that church, they still treated him with some level of humanity. They bought him Burger King. But these things are happening after CK gets pruned from the timeline. You want to send troops to Chicago. You want to send troops. I think troops are already in Washington, D.C., but you want to send troops to Chicago. You were talking about sending troops to Memphis. You're talking about sending troops to Portland. Why are you not sending troops to Utah? Why are you not sending troops to Michigan? I know people like to throw around a lot of statistics. I know y'all do. But statistically speaking, there's too many people who are populated by the majority, the Caucasians. It's a statistic impossibility, just by the sheer numbers, that they are not committing more crimes. Now, are they being convicted of those crimes? Again, you heard me earlier say, there always seems to be a situation where that the more heinous of those crimes get broken down into misdemeanors. They can have crimes of domestic violence, and then they get broken down to destruction of property. They could have attempted murder, pruning you from the timeline, get broken down to simple assault. And look at how they're charged. Now, I'm not, again, you all can sit here and think, oh, well, you're just talking out your head. I'm not. We've seen it. And even how legacy media reports these things is always interesting to me. Because again, if it was a black face or a face of someone of color, we would have seen that face in the first newscast about what happened, when it happened, and how it happened. We would have been told their race, their sex, their height, their age, and even what game they play on Xbox before the first newscast ended. But then when it's someone of the majority Caucasians, if they're Italians, if they're Irish, if they're of English, Irish, Norwegian, or whatever European descent, we don't get any description of them. We don't even get their name until the third or fourth press conference. And do we get a picture of them? No. You literally have to hunt for that picture. And even when you talk about with legacy media when they're reporting it, you don't even get to see a picture to the third or fourth thing when they are white men, when they are white males. Let's continue. Let's see how they humanize this man here. After the shots were fired, authorities said Edge fled down the intercoastal waterways before he was seen loading his vessel at the 55th Street boat ramp in nearby Oak Island. The U.S. Coast Guard spotted Edge based on a description of the suspect's boat and detained him before he was arrested by police. Officials say Sunday that Edge acted alone and there was no further threat to the community. Interesting. We got all of that because let's juxtapose how they were doing in Michigan. They're still investigating. They're still getting witnesses' statements. They're still trying to track what's going on. But here in North Carolina, they're just kind of wrapping this thing up, aren't they? They're saying that he acted alone. Did he confess to this? How did we know this? When you have 3 people that are pruned from the timeline. Oak Island Police Chief Charlie Morris said his department was familiar with Edge and that Edge frequently hung out in the Oak Island Pier. Despite that, the district attorney said Edge did not have any significant prior criminal cases. Significant? Again, what are we seeing? Define significant. Probably a little bit of that vandalism. Probably a little bit of that destruction of property. I'm wondering what his fellow neighbors have to say about him. Chief Morris already said that he was a resident of Oak Island and was well known to law enforcement, but he wasn't quite as well known in the criminal court system. District Attorney Davis said Sunday, there were some minor contacts over the years, but nothing significant in his past. Again, they're humanizing him. Don't tell me something is significant or insignificant. You've had contact and dealing. The police seems to have several there. He was well known with the law enforcement. How is he well known to you? Chief Morris, how is he well known to you? OWIs, operating without under the influence? Destruction of property, reckless boating, reckless driving. What are these? Do not have any significant prior criminal cases, but he's well known to the police. How is he well known? District attorney said Sunday there were some minor contacts over the years, but nothing significant in his past would give us any indication that he was capable of such horrors. Oh? I thought once a thug, always a thug. You see how they're humanizing him? Nothing really significant. Just a few minor things. I wonder if anybody in the news, in the legacy news media, pulled up what these non-significant things are. And he was well known. See, that leads me to believe that he's probably had several run-ins with the law, and they may not have put it down in any paperwork They just may have talked to him a little bit, tell him to go home and sleep it off. Let's see what they charged him in. In relation to Saturday's mass pew peeling, Edge was charged with the following offenses: 3 counts of first-degree murder, 5 counts of attempted first-degree murder, 5 counts of assault with a deadly weapon with intent to kill, inflicting serious injuries. Authorities said additional charges could be sought as the investigation progresses. So, see, we got questions to ask. Did he have beef with anybody in that bar? Was there some specific people that he didn't want to be around or anything like that? You all want to tell us, oh, he didn't have anything insignificant. What's not significant? We need to know what past things that he had. We need to start talking to the sheriff. Did you know this young man was terrorizing the town? You told him to go home and sleep it off? You and your deputies? Is he married? Does he have significant others? Where is his family? Are we talking to the family? Officials said Edge legally changed his name and has filed multiple civil lawsuits within the past few years, including some against law enforcement. But that's not significant, huh? Edge also claimed to be a combat veteran who suffers from PTSD. So let me ask you this question. He legally changed his name. Does he have any charges in the name that he changed from? Here he is. Is he recognizable to anybody? Because he's Edge now. What did he change his name from? American Fish Company was one of the main settings in the movie Safe Haven. In a statement, the business said that it along with neighboring frying pan restaurants, would be closed indefinitely. It says, our hearts are broken and our prayers are with the victims, their family, and everyone else affected by this tragedy. American Fish Company statement read, God bless Southport. Southport is one of the furthest south towns on the North Carolina coast, about 45 minutes from Wilmington. So let's look into this press conference that they had for this incident.
Deadly shooting at a bar in North Carolina. Let's watch.
Across the state, for that matter. Behind me, you'll have remarks briefly from Sheriff Chisholm, Brunswick County Sheriff's Office, SBI Chris Brenzel, District Attorney John David, Chief Morris with the Oak Island Police Department, and Jenna Early, the first assistant with the District Attorney's Office. They're behind me.
Yeah, this chief from Oak Island, I'm interested to see what he has to say. Real interested, because this man was known to you all not in a significant way. I hope that they are answering questions at the end of this press conference
Today to try to be here to answer any questions we have or talk this through this morning. So I want to start off on Saturday, December 27th, 2025 at approximately 9:30. Members of the Southport Police Department were dispatched to cause of shots fired with multiple injuries at the American Fish Company at 150 Yacht Basin Drive here in Southport. Reports came in rapidly of a boat sitting in the waterway. Reports of a subject shooting multiple patrons of the establishment. Unfortunately, 3 were wounded fatally. We have 5 injured that are at area hospitals still receiving care. The boat fled the ICW toward the Oak Island Bridge. Shortly after 10 p.m., the Coast Guard observed a single individual matching the description of the shooter. loading their boat at a public boat ramp in the area of Northeast 55th Street on Oak Island. Coast Guard crews detained the suspect, who was held at the Oak Island Police Department before being turned over to several members there, including the Southport Police Department, Brunswick County Sheriff's Office, Marine Fisheries, and the Oak Island Police Department. Also the SBI that were assisting us in these various locations. Suspect is a Nile Max Edge. He's been arrested and charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder, 5 counts of attempted first-degree murder, and 5 counts of assault with a deadly weapon with intent to kill, inflicting serious injury. There are additional charges pending. This is still a very active investigation. But there's a couple of things that I want to point out to you today before I turn it over to some of these individuals behind me. Some facts that we have at this time is that we believe that this was a targeted location. We appear that he acted in what we call a lone wolf. He acted alone. This is how.
How did we figure all that out? Did he say that in his interrogation? Interesting.
Premeditated from what we're seeing at this time. And we feel there are no other threats to our community, that we do have someone in custody. So that's what's important, that I want the community to know, that we do have someone in custody and we feel like we have no other threats this time. Still a very active investigation. I want to point that out. We're asking that anyone who was at the establishment last night, those who may have been at the establishment on Friday night, to call our office, the Southport Police Department, at 910-457-7911. Again, when we arrived last night, it was a very chaotic scene. We had people that had fled the scene before officers were arriving. We did have some injured that walked into our local hospital here on Howe Street. So we are still trying to get these folks in. We need to talk with them. Anyone who may have video of the incident, we're asking you to reach out to our police department. Again, call us at 910-457.
Y'all heard that? You're still in the middle of an investigation. But you already have some things that are definite. You know that he was a lone wolf. You know that it was targeted. Who did he target? Why did he target? See, there's always things in the information given that always leads you to ask more questions. Why did this man change his name? Am I saying that it's something nefarious? No, because people change their names all the time. But it was interesting to understand and know that he changed his name. The legacy news media knew he changed his name. Now, why did he change his name? Why was that a tidbit of information that was important for us to know at this point? Let's continue.
We understand this suspect identifies as a combat veteran. He self-identifies injured in the line of duty is what he's saying. He suffers from PTSD. We want to point those facts out. But
How do
again,
they
the
know?
bottom line is that I want to assure our community that we feel like we do have our suspect in custody. And again, we're asking for your assistance. So those are two of the things I want to make sure and reiterate before I turn the microphone over to Sheriff Chisholm, to please call our office if you have any videos, or if you were there last night and we have not talked to you. We've been talking to multiple people. Again, we've had an outpouring of support from multiple agencies. Some 60 to 80 officers were here last night helping us, and we have still a lot of folks here that are continuing with its investigation. So at this time, I'll turn the mic over to Sheriff Chisholm.
Good morning. As Chief Cord mentioned, our hearts and prayers and thoughts go out to the family of the victims of this tragic incident. We stand with Southport PD. This is a place that I grew up, so it's a place that I hold near and dear to my heart, like many people in this room. And I want all of you in this room, I challenge you, do not let this define Southport.
Again, I am still curious on how he was known to the police in not in significant ways. The district attorney says they know about him because he had a lot of lawsuits. The police says that they knew of him because of not significant ways. What were those not significant ways? And he has changed his name and he self-reports as a veteran. Curious to know what he did in the military. Let's continue.
You have great men and women standing behind me, and I am so proud of my coworkers and Southport PD, the SBI, all the federal partners, Oak Island PD, everybody that came and responded and came together to get this guy in custody so quickly. I am very proud of them, and my heart goes out to them because they were here. They had to see this. Just know that we have all of our resources, and they're available to Southport PD. And I just want to thank all the partners that were there last night and the ones that are here today, and for the quick response and just the quick end to this tragedy. Thank you.
That's it? How did you know the suspect? What were the not significant ways that you've encountered this suspect? See, this is the stuff that you, again, and I know people think, oh, you're being so hyperbolic, Pam, you need to stop. No, this is the stuff that makes me upset, because had he looked like me, you would have known what he ate in preschool. You would have rattled off all the ways that you all had known this person in law enforcement. I'm just saying, fair is fair. Why humanize one person and demean someone else? And then people look at us like we're being crazy, like we're oh, y'all are just complaining a lot. No, we just asking the questions. There's nobody in my community that wants to say that a person should not get, if they've committed a crime, they should be dealt with. But we're not afforded the humanity. And even though technically we are humans, and those that are pictured on the thing are considered to be Neanderthals, but we will continue.
Charlie Boris, the Oak Island Police Department. Thank you, Sheriff. Just to reiterate a couple things the Sheriff and Chief Coring said, we have a close-knit community here. I certainly do not want this incident to define who we are, because that is not us. This
Obviously it is. Because, you know, people get to generalize my community all the time. People get to generalize and say that people in my community are all criminals. And they'll spurt out statistics, every 2 to 3 black folks are criminals, when it's not the truth. The one thing that we can definitely export to people around the country and around the world is racism and biases and prejudices. Until we get little stuff like when people interact with us, oh, I didn't know you was well-spoken. Why would you not think that I would be well-spoken? I don't believe that y'all can be educated. Why would you believe that? When all the little creature comforts that you have come to enjoy were created by people that look like me. But we are not as afforded humanity. When we talk about the things that have happened to us and our ancestors, we're told to shut up. Can we get past it? You making us feel bad. This is why we don't want to talk about or have books that deal with the things that you go through in the libraries. We just need books that for people that look like us. You're not the only people that live in this country. We have to accept the stuff that you give to us, but you all don't want to accept the things that we have to offer as well. And if you do accept it, you find a way to whitewash it. So I want to know if we want to keep that same energy. And when people of color and people that look like me, black folks, commit crimes, I want to know all of their criminal past. Legacy media. Why do we not know all the ways that he not significantly interacted with law enforcement? We should know all those not significant ways. He's part of the community. The district attorney's office says that they've encountered him via lawsuits. The police department says that they've encountered this person via insignificant ways. What are those ways? Did he get crimes? Does he have a criminal record? What does that criminal record look like? Was he initially charged with assault and then it was broken down to a destruction of property? Was he charged with driving under the influence or boating under the influence? Who did he have beef with? Y'all are a close-knit community. We heard from one of the people that was in the community with the person that pew-pewed the church up in Michigan with the word salad, basically saying he liked who he liked and he didn't like who he didn't like. And he was unkind with his words when he was talking about or talking to the community that he did not like.
As a person that has acted alone, we feel confident right now, even though we're in the preliminary stages.
How do you feel that confident? How do you feel that confident when you haven't completed the investigation? You've decided a course of action, and that's where you're going to want this investigation to take you. There's no way in the world that you should feel this confident. You should be exploring all avenues. You're talking about a person who's self-identified as a person in the military who's changed his name. Y'all are trying to shut this down. Y'all are not trying to dig any deeper. I'm willing to bet you in the next few days or few weeks, they're going to talk about his mental health status. Because of him being in the military with PTSD, they're going to be talking about his mental health status, and they're going to figure out a way to get him to do a plea bargain. And we probably never will hear from this person again. Let's continue.
Of the investigation, we feel like that this person acted alone, and there's no one else involved. Last night, our witnesses that were
Also, they're a small community. They know of this person. You mean to tell me you're not going to do an investigation and find accessories before or possibly accessories after the fact? Y'all are close knit. Y'all know who he hang with.
We're on the scene, observed a white center console boat travel south or southwest, leaving the area. Our Coast Guard partners were patrolling along with our sheriff's office and encountered a boat down at the 55th Street boat access in Oak Island. The officers got out and made contact with Mr. Edge, and as a result of that, during the investigation, he was detained and taken into custody. Another thing that I would like to reiterate is, yes, Nigel Edge is a resident of Oak Island. We are familiar with him at the police department, so I want to acknowledge that as well. So I don't think I have anything else, but God bless our victims. God bless our community. And we wish our victims that are suffered the injuries a speedy recovery.
How is he known? That's the question.
Good morning. Chris Brunzel, Special Agent in charge with the State Bureau of Investigation. I don't think it can be said enough, and I join our partners in offering our prayers to the families of the victims who were murdered and injured last night during these tragic events that happened in Southport. I want to thank the men standing behind me and all of our local, state, federal, and every other partner that we have, U.S. Coast Guard that responded last night. Without these partnerships, we would not be able to stand in front of you to announce the arrest of this individual today. I also want to commend the men and women from all over the county and all over the state that responded to this incident last night. It's through their hard work that we were able to make this happen. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is District Attorney John David. Evil has come ashore in Southport, North Carolina. Ironically enough, at the very place which once served as a backdrop to the movie Safe Haven. And that name is symbolic of the way in which the people in our community view this area. The thin veneer of peace and tranquility which has enveloped this idyllic waterfront community was shattered last night by gunfire that came from the water. When the dust settled, 8 people were shot, 3 of them are dead, and at least 1 is now clinging for their life. I want to tell you that the group of people that stand behind me now awoke this morning with a firm resolve to seek maximum justice in this case. I will tell you that the men and women of law enforcement worked quickly and in team-like fashion to give us the tools that we need to be effective in a courtroom. And that process will begin literally tomorrow with the first appearance of Nigel Edge. Now, there's a lot that prosecutors under the rules of North Carolina's professional rules are not permitted to say. We can talk a lot more about process than we can about facts. But you know something about the core nucleus of operative facts. I want to tell you a little bit about what the road ahead looks like. But before I do that, let me say first and foremost that my office prides itself on something that we refer to as the police prosecutor team approach. It's a highly collaborative process that requires us at the front end to work very closely. I personally arrived at the scene at about 11 o'clock last night. I saw with my own eyes the horror which has occurred in this case. I was joined by my first assistant, Jenna Early, my investigator, Charlie Lyles. And I'm so grateful for the incredible law enforcement response the incredible response to the first arriving medical folks who did their best to limit further damage and loss of life. It was really heartening to witness that play out in real time. So tomorrow we are going to be in a courtroom, and for the first time, we're going to be able to talk about the facts. In the fullness of time, the truth will emerge in a courtroom, and that's where.
So they talk about this movie, Safe Haven. Now, apparently this movie, and I'm pulling it up from IMDb, as you see it here. And this is a movie starring Julianne Hough. You remember she was on Dancing with the Stars, and Josh Duhamel. It says a young woman with a mysterious past lands in Southport, North Carolina, where her bond with a widower forces her to confront a dark secret that haunts her. So this movie happened about 2013. So we're talking over 12 years ago. Let's continue.
I'm going to be doing the majority of my talking. He will be given a first appearance. He is currently charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder, 5 counts of attempted murder, and 5 counts of assault with a deadly weapon, intent to kill, inflicting serious injury. I anticipate that additional charges could be forthcoming. And so we are going to be moving forward in that process tomorrow. He is currently held without bond. It is my hope and expectation that that will remain tomorrow and throughout this process. I will say that North Carolina is a state for which the death penalty is a potential, and my office does seek it in appropriate cases. I want you to know that there is a process in place within my office to scrupulously review the facts and circumstances of every homicide offense that comes through our door. I have a team of senior prosecutors that meet as part of a death penalty review committee, and we make sure that we thoroughly evaluate the facts and the law on a case-by-case basis. We do that to ensure that we make our decisions on the basis of the fact and law and not emotion, because it should go without saying this is a very emotional time for a lot of people. And we want to continue to embrace the process that has served us so well over the 15 years that I've been fortunate enough to be your elected district attorney. To sort of paint the picture of what occurred last night, the incident location where this occurred, the American Fish Company, which I've already indicated to you was quite literally the backdrop for the movie Safe Haven, had live music going on last night. There is an outdoor deck which faces the water, and there was a lot of people out there last night just enjoying live music under the stars. The thread that connects everyone who's a victim in this case to this point just appears to be a love of having a good time and enjoying all that Southport has to offer. Sadly, a lot of the victims in this case appear to be not members of our community, but people who are here on vacation. And just to anticipate one of the questions that I imagine that you have, that's one of the very reasons why when we took out these warrants early this morning, we used only initials for people's names rather than their full name. Some of the victims' families live out of state. And as district attorney, I wanted to ensure that we made proper notifications to them before they're hearing about it on the news. And so that is one of the reasons why the arrest warrants that you have contain only initials at this juncture. Tomorrow, I expect you're going to be hearing more about potentially the identity of some of the victims, and you're going to hear more of the facts that underlie the investigation. But I can't overstate how quickly this investigation unfolded. Very heartened by the fact that law enforcement was able to make an immediate apprehension. I'm confident, based on what I now know, that we got the right guy and that he acted alone. I will tell you that we asked for some grace because we're only in the first 14 hours of this investigation. And in my experience as being a prosecutor, and I'm now in my 30th year of being a prosecutor, facts frequently change, they evolve. And so I allow for the possibility that we're going to learn substantial new information in the coming days and weeks. But having said that, I think we now know a core nucleus of operative facts. And I feel very confident as I stand before you today that law enforcement has given us the tools that we need to be effective. With that, we will entertain a couple of questions. Again, with the guardrails in place being facts are still being developed, and there's a lot we can't say consistent with the ethical rules under 3.8 and 3.6. So are there any questions? Yes, ma'am. In fact, he did. Mr. Nile Edge actually changed his name some years ago. And so we are looking to identify, all of his past. And there's going to be questions about his past. Chief Morris already said that he's a resident of Oak Island, and he was well known to law enforcement. He wasn't quite as well known in the criminal court system. There are some minor contacts over the years, but nothing significant in his past, which would give us.
Uh-oh. The prosecutor just pulled your punk card, Chief. He said he wasn't well known in the court system, but he was actually well known in your community with the police officer. So what was he well known? Why didn't you not state what he had been well known for?
Any indication that he was capable of such horror. There have been a number of civil suits that he's instituted against people. And he's had some minor brushes with the law, but to this point, we're unaware of any significant criminal history. Again, we're going to check out of.
Interesting. Interesting. Y'all hadn't checked these records. You didn't ask for assistance from the FBI to figure out that name. What name did he go under? Because remember, he's saying that he is a combat veteran. So surely he probably used a different name. This is going to be quite interesting. Now, this is the one that could, just on those facts alone, I am going to be making sure that I update my alerts with this case.
State, and it's early on in the investigation, but as I stand before you today, I'm unaware of that. Yes, ma'am.
Is a crime like this, do you think is kind of a one?
Yeah, so the question is this common in our area? I'll tell you that violent crime is virtually non-existent in the city of Southport. This is an idyllic waterfront community that really enjoys a reputation for being a very peaceful and tranquil place. Again, I've been a prosecutor for 30 years. I've started out my career in Miami, Florida, and then I was for a decade an assistant district attorney in Wilmington, North Carolina. So I'm not unacquainted with violent crime. Bad things happen to good people wherever you live, and I'm reminded of that today. But this would be remarkable anywhere, but particularly in a place that was called Safe Haven. Yes, sir. So the question was asked, is there a motive at this point? And let me be clear, people frequently want to know what happened and why. As prosecutors in a courtroom, we have to prove intent. Intent and motive are very different things. We don't actually have to prove motive. We don't know why people do what they do. You can chase the ghost of why all over a courtroom and never catch it. That's going to be part of a comprehensive investigation as we look towards his reason for doing this, but we have to prove criminal intent and not motive. Yes, ma'am. So that's a fact-specific question. I'm going to allow Chief Poring to talk a little bit more about the facts if that's something that he chooses to do, but I hope you understand as a prosecutor, I can't answer that. But Chief, is there anything you want to say about firearms?
Again, it's early in the investigation, but we know that it's an assault rifle, but I have not looked at anything else pertaining to the weapons right now.
Chief Morris, is there anything more you can say about you guys?
So yes, we were familiar with Sean. He has been a resident of Oak Island for several years. He frequently hung out on our pier. Our employees knew him. And so, yeah, we were just familiar with him. He has filed a lawsuit, sent numerous lawsuits on the town, on the police department within the last couple years. Yes, sir. Yes, he has. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, so we executed a search warrant last night in collaboration with the SBI in Southport and the sheriff's office, and his vehicle was searched along with his boat and residence. And I won't go into specifics about what was recovered. However, there were firearms, and if the SBI would like to elaborate on that a little more, since they are the agency that took possession of those weapons, I'll let them discuss that.
Human use. What's our practice? Out of the water, we can read that.
Yeah, so the question is, when he was encountered by the Coast Guard and law enforcement, what was he doing? That information was put out last night about the boat, which is very vague. That's a very vague description. There was no other descriptions other than a white center console boat that we were able to push out. Our Coast Guard partners, which the Coast Guard station is in very close proximity to here, were patrolling the area along with the sheriff's office. And as they were patrolling, they located a white boat at our boat access, our 55th Street boat access. At the time of his encounter, he was loading the boat up, and then that's when we engaged him in a conversation and ultimately took him into, or detained him, and then ultimately took him into custody.
He lives on Oak Island, or is small?
Yes, he is a resident that lives on the island. Yes, sir. Yes. Yeah, I'm not going to speak on that. I'll let Chief Coring or the.
They're not as vocal as far as the questions. I don't think that those people are on mics. They have been doing a good job by repeating the question, but what's happening is I don't think they're mic'd up, so we don't get to hear the question as clearly as we needed to hear the questions. So if they don't repeat what the question was, I won't be able to catch it.
SBI will defer that question to them. Thank you. Yes. No, I don't have that. Chief Coring would be more appropriate to answer that question.
Chief, let me say something.
Yes, sir.
Or Todd, did you want to say something? I think it's important to let you know why it is we have so many different law enforcement agencies at a local level assembled behind us. Brunswick County is the fastest growing of the 100 counties in North Carolina. We have 60 miles of coastline and 19 municipalities. Several of those municipalities have sufficient tax base to be able to afford their own local law enforcement agencies. And so the sheriff's office blankets the entire county. They have overlapping and concurrent jurisdiction over everything that happens in the municipalities. And one of the unique features of this case is that the shooting occurred in the city limits of Southport, but the apprehension happened in Oak Island for a resident that lives in Oak Island. There's going to be a very comprehensive investigation that takes place, not only by the sheriff's office that blankets the entire county, but also by the State Bureau of Investigation. They are an assisting agency, and at my request.
All right. I think we have gleaned what we needed to glean from this press conference. So one of the things that I'm still interested in is his name change. I'm really interested in that. But let me just conclude what I want to conclude. It is so important that when these things happen, these mass shootings, there has to be a reconciliation that the majority of the people that do these mass shootings are white males. Point blank, period. One more again, because I know people get confused in the back here. The mass majority of the people who commit mass shootings, albeit in a school, albeit in the office place, albeit in a restaurant, albeit wherever it is, when they do these mass shootings, the majority of the people who do these mass shootings are white male, heterosexual men, God-fearing Christian men. And I think it's important and when they do these mass shootings, they are looking to do maximum damage. If that maximum damage can be thwarted, then it will be. But if it cannot, they will do maximum damage. Look at what happened in Michigan. Not only did he prune people from the timeline and he injured several people, he burnt property. And no longer are the days that you all can go around talking about, oh, it doesn't happen in our neighborhood. This is just stuff that happens in the ghettos. No, it happens everywhere. Crime happens everywhere. And you all are going to have to come to grips, and you all are going to have to figure out how to deal with this particular crime, because you look everywhere else for crime instead of within your own communities. And then you want to get up here and say, oh, well, crime doesn't happen like this in our community. You're lying. The truth is not in you. Crime is always happening. But you see the humanity in the people who are committing these crimes. Again, statistics and things like that are changed because you could be arrested for one thing and then convicted for something else. And a lot of these statistics go by what you were convicted of. You all have gone in with domestic violence, attempted murder, assault, and all kinds of stuff. But it seems like everything gets dropped down to property damage, vandalism, driving under the influence, to where you can get slaps on the wrist. And that's what happens. How many slaps on the wrist does it take for the white community to understand that y'all got terrorists in your midst? You know that phrase, how many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop? How many slaps on the wrist does that take? How exhausting is it for you all to always claim that somebody is a lone wolf? How do you know? You haven't even finished this investigation. You're already pushing these narratives. Well, he did it. He was a lone wolf. Was he? Was there somebody that he was targeting? Because a lot of times people don't pay attention to what's being said. You're talking about a man who was part of your community for years. He has done lawsuit after lawsuit against the police department and anybody else that he could do a lawsuit with. He claims to be a combat veteran. He's also claiming to have changed his name. You don't even know if he's committed or what crimes he's committed under the names he changed from. He could be a juvenile delinquent. If he is a combat veteran, did he commit a crime in the military? How was he discharged? Did he recognize somebody in that bar? Talking about lone wolf. And I know I'm sitting here throwing out all these little different theories and speculating and all those different things. But what the whole point that I'm trying to make is, you all already have a narrative that you want to go with. And you're going to find all the evidence that fits the narrative that you want to go with, instead of doing an investigation and see where it leads you. You fixed your narrative, and that's where your investigation is going to go with. And so in the midst of that, I call it jury signaling. You're trying to humanize this person before they get to the jury, so people will feel some kind of way or some kind of sorry. You talk about the death penalty, but I bet it won't be on the table. There you go again, Pam. You're being so hyperbolic. You're just talking. It's not. Because the one thing we tell is we show America who she is, what she stands for, and how she treats her citizenry. And regardless who's in power, regardless if they're Democrat, if they're Republic, or whoever else, America has not changed. And white America is starting to feel like we feel, having bloodshed in safe places. It don't feel good when people walk into your church and you welcome them with open arms, and they get to pew pew and you in the house of the Lord. Doesn't feel good when you're in your community and shots fire at birthday parties and all of these different places that people go, that because you're supposed to consider these places to be a safe place. No longer are you all going to be able to push this up under the rug under the guise of it doesn't happen in our community. Obviously it does. Too many communities that has happened with. Hell, I watch 48 Hours. And then those shows are talking about pretty much black communities. But watch a special of Dateline or 2020. It's white folk. So obviously it happens enough. Unsolved mysteries. All of these true crime shows. You can go to TikTok. You can go to YouTube. You can go to Instagram and see all of these true crime mysteries. And the majority of the people that you see are white folks. So don't try to explain to me, or don't try to gaslight me that there is not crime within your community. Is that exactly there is crime? But they're giving or afforded humanity and giving chance after chance after chance after chance. And then you sit here now, oh, we don't know. We don't want you to think that this is what it is about Safe Haven or in North Carolina. We're not like this. Obviously you are. That's what you tell us. Black on black crime is out of control. White on white crime is out of control. And you all are acting delulu about it. But instead of dealing with it, you want to send tanks and guns to Chicago and Washington, D.C. and Memphis and communities where you understand and know there is a good significant black population, because you want to say, oh, it's the black folks that's committing all the crimes. Obviously not. The numbers wouldn't even bear that out. The numbers wouldn't even bear that out. Well, there's so many black people in jail, of course. We're always convicted. But isn't it funny that the exoneration rates are through the roof? The exoneration rates are through the roof. So what does that tell you? All right, people, we do this every week. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I am going to be following this case in North Carolina because I want to know who this person is that committed these crimes. I want to know what this alias is. I want to know why everybody up there is talking about this person being a lone wolf. They don't even know if he was targeting who he was targeting, why he did what he did. They've just decided that he's a lone wolf and nobody else is involved in that. Are we sure? Looks like you need to finish your investigation before you make those determinations. He's been known to the police department, but not in a significant way. What does that mean? Have you arrested him or not? Because again, people think that we are just stupid and we're not listening to what you're saying. Clearly, if he is suing the police department, your run-ins have to have been significant. If he's suing the police department, your run-ins have to be significant. Then again, that makes me believe, why did he target that particular place? Why, Sway? Why did he target that particular place? And I hate when people try to downplay things when we're clearly hearing what you're saying, but you think that if you just put it in this press conference with these demeanors, oh, well, we don't want people to think that this is how this place is. We're safe haven. We're this. We're a community that loves each other. This man has been suing the police department. Why would he sue the police department? That's significant. I don't know why the police chiefs and the other things are saying that it's of Oak Cliff or Oak Bluff or whatever the name of the place it is. Why they don't think that that's significant? And why hasn't legacy media? Now I am looking at Fox News. We're pulling this information from Fox News, but why hasn't the news outlets, the legacy news, looked into what are these civil lawsuits that they have filed? Appears to me, if you have someone who has been arrested for something and then you're talking about civil lawsuits, and the people that have arrested him are the people who he is suing civilly, why haven't the state police, the North Carolina State Police, been involved in this? I'll tell you what, because they're trying to make this go away. They don't want you to ask any more questions. Ask the questions. What was his name before Edge? What were the reasons why he would sue the Oak Bluff, whatever police department in North Carolina? Why was he suing those people? What were the insignificant ways that he interacted with that police department? Was there anybody in the police department at that tourist attraction, that restaurant, when all of this happened? Was there someone associated with the police department in that restaurant when all of this happened? Why are we talking about a lone wolf when you haven't even completed an investigation? North Carolina people, you all need to get your state police involved. Because there are significant questions that need answering. You all need to push for those answers, white folk. Because if you want these things to stop, you're going to have to start pushing for these answers. Now, is it my business? But see, it becomes my business when you try to deflect or act delusional that you all are committing these crimes, and then you're sending troops in communities with people that look like me to try to atone for stuff that y'all are doing. I don't like that. I don't like you being in the middle of Washington, D.C. because CK got pruned from the timeline. You're not over there in Utah? I don't like the fact that one of your Doge members gets beat up and carjacked, and now the whole city has to suffer with all of these troops in there. I don't like that. Y'all need to get it together. Get it together. Get it together. All right, people, we do this every week. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Please share this video if you care. Y'all, what are you thinking about these 2 mass unalivings that have happened over the weekend? How do you think the investigations are going on? Why do you think that they're going to, how do you think it's going to affect Black folks going forward? Y'all put it down in the comments. All right, people, please tell a friend, tell a kin, tell a coworker, tell that heifer that you can't stand that I'm over here making these videos. And as always, people, bye-bye. And changed his name and insignificant to the police force, but yet he's filing charges. Edge is filing charges against the police department, and that's